As a black man living in America, the thought and the practice of DEI programs and initiatives honestly makes me sad. And
Lord Jesus. Breathe. Hey there, all you girls, boys, and non-binaries out there. My name is Ron Dawson, and every now and then I like to make videos at the intersection of pop culture and politics, faith and philosophy. And this is a particular creator who I've been somewhat obsessed with lately because I feel like he represents everything that is frustrating about Black conservatives and Black conservative creators. Not Black conservatives in general. I would say Black conservative creators who like to be shields for the alt-right wing, ostensibly under the auspices of pushing the people forward. This is Amir Odom, and a friend of mine sent me this video. This dude who he and I get into it, and he sent me this video. Not this video. He sent me a video from this guy a number of months ago. And when I first came across Amir, I actually thought, okay, even though he's conservative, I think he's kind of cool. He invites conversation. Maybe I'll be able to deal with this because I don't like to live in a bubble. I want to be exposed to different ideas, which is one reason why I have this particular friend who's more conservative than I am. But it didn't take me long to realize that Amir is just another example of a modern day HN, House N-word. And I actually made a 3-part series on my TikTok channel about a video he made about Black fatigue, and I'll put links to it in the description. But that conversation around those videos led to my friend bringing up this video, telling me, you should check out this video. The positive things that Amir's saying in this. Not a minute into this, I'm already wanting to pull my hair out. He's talking about, okay, we'll get into it. And I'm just telling you up front, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a breakdown of this entire 37-minute video. We'll see. I'm going to have to protect my peace. I'm going to have to protect my soul. I need, my girlfriend like to tell me, I call myself like a kind of Buddhist. And one aspect of Buddhism is like protecting your peace. So if I do any more videos beyond this one about this DEI video, it'll probably be later. But I think I'll cover enough for you to get the gist. All right, let's get back to it.
it makes me sad because as a kid growing up, whenever I did see someone black in media, online, whatever it may be, I thought it was really cool. I was being told that, it's a white world and the white man this, white man that, but seeing representation, seeing black people in the spots that they were, it did something to me. I'm not gonna lie and say it didn't. It did. It did make me feel something. It did make me feel motivated and inspired, and the list goes on. But now, with all these DEI initiatives and the things that are going on, it makes me sad seeing black people all the time. Because now I have to think to myself,
I want you to think about that for a second. Stand back and think about what he's saying. He's saying it makes him sad seeing more representation of people who looks like him. I don't know if he goes to therapy, but what does it say about you if you're sad that you see more people who look like you? Now he's going to address why, and we'll get to it. But I just want you to step back and think about the significance of what that means.
are they there because they earned it? Or are they there because so-and-so or this company needs to meet their DEI quota? Now, when I see black actors and black billboards, I'm like, are you there for a reason? Are you there because you earned it? Like, genuinely, are you there because you earned it? Or are you there because of DEI and its push of, we need more representation, we need more this, we need more that? When off the bat, thinking about it, if I only see black people every now and again in media, that kind of makes sense given that black people are 13% of the US population. There shouldn't be a reason why I go on TV or I go somewhere and people are trying to advocate so hard that everything is equal. Our own country isn't equal. Why am I seeing more black and gay people on TV than I am seeing in real life? And I'm black and gay.
I don't even know where to start with all of this. Okay. First of all, again, the fact that he is sad that he's seeing more of himself. Secondly, if you think that there is this push out in the world to see more black and queer and marginalized faces more than is justifiably so, that is only because there is propaganda from right-wing media to make you think that that is what is happening, because that is not what is actually happening in the world. This dude is talking about how he's seeing more black, queer, and black and gay faces on television than in real life. And this is one of the reasons why this particular dude pisses me off so much, because he says a bunch of shit and he never backs it up with anything that actually makes sense. All right. So I want to know where this brother is getting his television shows. Okay. Let's do a little bit of digging, shall we? All right. So he's seeing more black people and black and gay people on the screen than he sees in real life. Okay. I honestly want to know, where is this dude watching television and movies? So here's Netflix, top 10 shows on Netflix. Hmm. Oh, there's a black person. Is that who he's referring to? Here are a couple black characters. Maybe he's referring to that. The top 10 shows on Netflix. This doesn't look like something that's overrun with black and queer people. I don't know. Maybe it was HBO. Maybe HBO is where he's seeing all of these black and queer faces. Here are most recently added movies. Is this where he's seeing so many black and queer faces on HBO Max? Oh, maybe this is the one he's talking about. Again, I'm not seeing it. I don't know. Maybe he watches Hulu. Maybe Hulu is where he's seeing all these black and queer. No, it doesn't look like Apple TV. Apple Apple TV. Oh, yeah. Government cheese. It's taking over Apple TV. Apparently, this is where he's. Maybe it's Paramount. Maybe Paramount is where he's seeing all these black and queer faces. Maybe he doesn't like the fact that there's a black person in Quiet Place Day One. I I want to know where he's seeing more black and queer faces on television and movies than he's seeing in real life. And this is what I mean. This is what I mean by this dude. He says crap like this, doesn't back it up. And that black fatigue video I talked to you about, he said black people commit most of the crimes. He just threw that stat out there. Black people commit most of the crimes. Here is some truth to the situation with regards to DEI and the fact that it is actually something that is a propaganda. I don't know if it's propaganda. It's propaganda. It's this propaganda movement by alt-right wing creators to basically turn back the clock to make America great again. And people like Amir are either this dude is honestly he's either ignorant or lazy. I can't think of no other way about it. This is a Google trend on the term DEI. This is where you can go and see the search term. You type in a term, you can see how many people are searching for that term. This is the search term graph for DEI for the past 5 years. Pretty steady, not that big. Well, look at this. Ever since the president had this attack on in the past 4 years, we've seen this spike in DEI. We saw another spike. When was this? This was during the presidential campaign. Surprise, surprise. This is what is happening. And this is what I mean by people like Amir saying shit like DEI is making him see more black people and queer people than he sees in real life, when I want to see the evidence for that. There's nothing to suggest that's really happening. And I did a research project because I wanted to know, like, again, if I'm going to come back and criticize this dude, I want to do my own research. What do the numbers say? So I did this Gemini deep research. And for those of you who don't know, like, this is what I do for my job. I'm a content marketing expert. I don't know if I'm an expert, but I do content marketing for a tech company. And one of the things I use is AI. And Gemini Deep Research is this tool where you basically imagine if you had like a research assistant who can go out and scan the internet, read PDFs, read reports, come back and give you a full-blown research report. So that's what I did on DEI and a DEI in Hollywood and DEI in the corporate world and black representation in media. That's what I was looking for. And I got this very detailed report with cited sources for all this information is coming from. And then I had it put together like a nice little infographic to make it easy for the average person to see. Let's look at what's really happening in the media landscape. On-screen film representation. In 2024, the share of theatrical film lead roles by Black, Indigenous, and people of color declined from 25% to 25% from 29%. So it actually went down from behind the camera. The disparity in for directors again went down in 2024. BIPOC individuals were significantly underrepresented as directors, 20%, and writers, 12.5%, far below their 44% share of the U.S. population. Basically, BIPOC people, Black people, Indigenous people of color, make up about 44% of America, which in and of itself was one of the fears of people on the right. But if you compare that to that number of roles that they have in media, either in front of or behind the camera, is significantly less. Television, persistent disparities. Across television, Black representation in lead roles remains low. In 2023, Black actors held only 5% of lead roles on broadcast TV. Streaming platforms also lag, with less than 5% of shows featuring Black leads. Again, these are actual numbers. This is what the stats are telling us. So I'm gonna get back to this corporate America stats a little bit later. So again, Amir's talking about the evil DEI. Here's one brother whose channel I really respect, Garrison Hayes. This dude does one thing that Amir never does. He actually shows statistics. He actually cites sources to back up the stuff he's saying. But here, he addressed this issue of DEI back during the campaign trail. And I want you to hear some of the things he had say in this video compared to what Amir was saying. And I think what Garrison addresses in this video is a more realistic representation of DEI and what is happening. I'm gonna make this speed 1.5 so it's like too fast.
Conservatives are obsessed with DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, not solely because it is their pet fixation of the moment, but because it is a part of their larger commitment to roll back democracy as we know it. For months, the term DEI has been paraded around conservative media as a catch-all racial boogeyman, out to fundamentally change the American way of life.
DEI, have a DEI presidency that they can celebrate.
Woke policies in DEI.
Woke, DEI, ESG.
It's some DEI crap. So that they were going to focus on DEI initiatives over anything else, and that's what led to that accident. They weren't hiring people who were qualified to put grease.
I've never seen a single shred of data or evidence associating what happened and somehow trying to blame that on women and minorities.
DEI is 2024's woke, which was 2023's CRT, which was 2021's BLM, which was 2020's N-word, a transparently racist euphemism thinly veiling the bigotry they desperately want you to see. But what if I told you that some of these folks are intentionally lying to you about DEI? Not only is DEI far from some threatening society-altering scheme, it usually isn't even relevant to the things they're applying the term to.
Well, maybe they're focused too much on DEI. There's a concern at the FBI because they're dropping the FBI special agent requirements in the name of DEI. I'm just wondering if that has anything to do with missing an important drone that just killed 3 of our heroes, Congressman.
And that's what I want to talk about in this video. The lies about DEI, the misrepresentations of DEI, as well as the flaws and the limits of DEI.
I'm going to have a link to his video in the description because this brother is keeping it real. One of the things he does in this video, he invites 3 people on that he interviews, a white man, like a Latino man, and a Black woman. The Black woman is actually an anti-DEI person, but she gives very good reasons as to why and the issues she has with DEI. And I think that is where there is an honest conversation to be had about DEI with regards to, is it really doing the job it was meant to do? And is there a reason, is there even more of a nefarious reason as to why the focus is on diversity? The sister that he brings up who talks about it is basically part of how DEI is structured, continues to center everything on essentially white people. Everything becomes white focused, white centered. And that's one of the critiques that she has with it. So I think there are honest critiques and criticisms and conversations to be had about DEI. But those conversations are not being had by creators like Amir.
No one can lie and say that we haven't seen an influx of Black people in media, of gay people in media, of Black narrative, gay narrative, even Target, we're going to get into later, having their whole like Black shows and Black businesses, Black hearts. It's like everywhere I look, since the start of all this DEI stuff, I'm just seeing more Black. And you would think that makes me happier because of how happy it did make me seeing so many Black people growing up. But it did the opposite. It's quite disrespectful to say no.
It's quite disrespectful to see more Black and queer faces. First, as I showed you, we're actually not seeing more, we're seeing less. And another reason why there's this mindset or there's this narrative that we're being thrust all of these DEI initiatives and these stories is because of creators like, I don't know, Neurotic and Critical Drinker. They make an entire career out of attacking any television show or movie that has a woman, a queer person, or a person of color in the lead, regardless of whether or not their gender or their identity or their race actually has any impact on the story whatsoever, they make a big deal out of it. These people have millions of followers. They are part of the conversation driving this narrative that so many blacks are being thrown at us. And again, people like Amir totally either buy into it, or because of his popularity he gets from talking like this, he contributes to it.
So in today's video, we're going to go over just that. We're going to go through all the Target stuff, the DEI stuff, and hear a couple of different perspectives and just chat about this topic of, why there's a lot of black people that are for all this DEI stuff and why there's a lot of black people, admittedly, including myself, who do not like these DEI programs. And I highlight these perspectives because for a lot of people, and even me, it is frustrating seeing and knowing the sheer amount of people who can't speak up about this, who can't share their raw opinion about this in fear of being doxxed online or being canceled, or, the list goes on. And
he has 609,000 subscribers. When I first came across him a couple months ago, he had just over 500,000. He is not being canceled because he's talking about these issues. He is growing in popularity. He claims he used to be liberal, and I have no reason to believe that he wasn't. But like Candace Owens, as soon as you become a black conservative YouTuber, you usually blow up. I can't express enough what it means to see a black gay man like this give in and feed the white supremacy ideology that is alive and well on the internet in exchange for fame and fortune. Like this dude is going on tour. He's all excited about the tour he's going on. And it to me, it just seems clear that, if I were tomorrow to turn this channel into a black conservative channel, I would probably take off. And he is clearly not interested in actually having a good conversation, a real conversation about DEI. He's throwing out stats that are not real. He's pushing narratives that are being thrown out by right-wing media, alt-right media, narratives that are not true, that are bold-faced lies. And I think towards the end of Garrison's video is like a perfect way of explaining like what is happening.
This is the insanity of anti-DEI politics. Regardless of what you think about DEI, the folks pushing against it seem to have an agenda that I think reveals so much more about them than about any of the shortcomings of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. These programs may not provide the sweeping social changes we need. They may have failures, but they are saving lives, specifically the lives most under threat. They are including folks who have been and continue to be excluded. And right-wing politicians and media are convincing the American people that that's a bad thing, which gets to something that Tim mentioned earlier.
I mean, resentment's an incredibly powerful tool.
People receiving your tax dollars with no requirement they work.
It's been an incredibly powerful tool since before there was the United States of America. And people have always played to resentment and tried to make people, resent other groups of people.
So they'd be getting that money based solely on skin color.
And they've often reaped incredible political rewards for doing that.
I think what Tim is saying here is the crux of the whole issue. The right is obsessed with DEI because that obsession works. It's a part of a long tradition of powerful people pitting seemingly powerless people against each other. It is a politically potent strategy that works.
It's the decision to achieve one's own ends, here winning votes, by stirring racial animosity.
If powerful people can get poor white folks to blame poor migrants or black people for all of their issues, they can continue to pay those working class white people unlivable wages. Poor people get poorer while the powerful can amass unbelievable wealth and are never held accountable.
Woke policies and DEI.
If they can convince the average Fox News viewer that DEI is somehow to blame for Boeing's failures and not conservative-led deregulation efforts, they can keep tensions high and people distracted and leverage that for their political benefit.
The problem is there's nothing to replace Boeing. Yeah. And it really hurts Americans' defense. It hurts America's transportation. It hurts America's economy. And the question is this about DEI? Are you not hiring the best people? Are you hiring the most diverse people?
When Donald Trump was president, there was no DEI.
They can run extreme politicians who feed into all while rewarding their corporate backers with tax cuts and deregulation. What I'm saying is that the right is obsessed with DEI because this kind of rhetoric works, but it doesn't have to.
I want to end this video with a story, my own personal story. A little under 10 years ago, I started this podcast, Radio Film School. I like to describe it as This American Life for Filmmakers. It was an audio documentary style podcast about filmmaking. So instead of like one singular interview, it was a sort of like montage of video interview clips with various filmmakers combined with like a cool music soundtrack and sound effects and whatnot. And I released it in like September of 2015. And as a preview to this podcast, I created like a 12-minute preview where you heard clips from various interviews I had done in the summer leading up to the release to prepare and create this podcast. And I released it, and it was very cool. I got all this positive feedback from it because it wasn't like anything people had heard. A very popular website at the time, No Film School, called it the podcast we've all been waiting for. Filmmakers have been waiting for. And then I got this email from this woman filmmaker who said, Ron, I just heard the preview for the podcast. It sounds really great. I can't wait to check it out. But I noticed, why didn't you have any women filmmakers? And I was shocked. I had close to a dozen filmmakers in this preview, people who I interviewed. Every single person I interviewed was a white man. Well, actually, one of the people was an Asian guy, but everyone was a man. Now, I like to consider myself an ally, even back then. It didn't even occur to me that I didn't interview any women for this podcast because I had an unconscious bias based on what I was used to seeing. That is what DEI actually deals with. The unconscious biases that we all have, even those of us who are well-meaning, that we don't even know we have because we're used to seeing certain types of people in the media. We're used to seeing white, cisgender, heterosexual filmmakers. So that's who I was interviewing for this podcast. And so later on, I actually went out and I did a whole series where I interviewed predominantly women filmmakers. And even some of the women filmmakers, they felt like they weren't worthy. Like one woman filmmaker I interviewed, she like won, not a Tony, she won like one of the highest awards you can get in journalism for a documentary that she had put together. A Pulitzer Prize. She was a Pulitzer Prize winning filmmaker. She didn't feel like she deserved to be on my little podcast. And that is the mindset that so many of us have. Diversity, equity, inclusion programs are not, they're not handouts. They are meant to help uncover unconscious biases. I worked at this company once, and because I had strong opinions about certain things, despite the fact I always came with receipts, I was described as being confrontational whenever I suggested to do something that my boss didn't want to do. Other Black people at this particular company had other similar responses. These are similar stories. These are the kind of stories that Black people in the corporate America have had for decades. DEI addresses that. It teaches you how to understand what are the ways you're engaging with people in your company that you don't realize with regards to certain jokes you tell, certain things you say, or, people wanting to look at, the backside of my hand because they're so amazed at the fact that my palm is a different color than like these little microaggressions that you do. Programs, diversity, equity, inclusion programs are helping you to address with that. They're not a handout. It is about gathering together a pool of people who are all qualified and fighting against the systemic racism that's built in that you don't even know about. And I'm probably going to address this in a follow-up in more detail, but make a follow-up. But one of the things that they never tell you is that there is a version of quote unquote DEI that has been in existence for literally hundreds of years. Only it's a DEI for white people. It's like legacy programs in universities. It is the old boys network. It is people who are elevated to levels of prestige and power, despite the fact that they really are not qualified to be there. It's Pete Hegseth being put as Department of Defense over a 4-star general who has 41 years. I mean, that's the other thing. They don't care about meritocracy. And that's another thing. And so my message to you good people out there is don't believe the hype that DEI is the boogeyman, that it's a handout. Don't believe dudes like this Amir guy who's telling all these stories. And I'll do another follow-up video because there's some other trash-ish he said that just needs to be dealt with because Lord Jesus Almighty, dealing with this dude is just too much. Anyway, let me know what you think. What do you think about diversity, equity, inclusion programs? Go check out Garrison Hayes' video. Subscribe to him. That's the other thing. Amir is talking about, people being canceled. Again, Garrison has been around since 2006. He has 125,000 followers. Amir started his channel in 2019 and he has over 600,000. Okay, so I think he's doing quite well for himself. Anyway, I've said enough in this video. Go out, check out Garrison's video. Let me know in the comments what you think, whoever ends up watching this video. And until next time, peace. If you're seeing this video, that means the video you were watching has come to an end. But it doesn't mean our time together has to end. Do all the YouTubey things. Like, love, share, engage, leave a comment. And you don't have to go away. There are other videos on this channel. Check them out. I'm a new and growing channel. Show a brother some love.